going to show you how to make a chord chart to figure out chords in different key signatures. I started off by making this open chart. Nothing's filled in yet, just the chord grid to be able to fill it in. I'm going to show you what happens when we fill it in with whatever key signature we're going to use. Let's use something interesting. Let's say A major. A major has 3 sharps in it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to build the scale in this column. So we have A major, starts with A is the first note of the scale, B is the second note of the scale, C sharp is the third note of the scale, D is the fourth note of the scale, E is the fifth note of the scale, F sharp is the sixth note of the scale, G sharp is the seventh note of the scale in the leading tone, and then we start back at A again. Now, what was the third note that we wrote was C sharp. So I'm going to start with that C sharp and put it down here in the first. And I'm just going to copy exactly what I wrote here into this column, but starting down here, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, and C sharp. Now what was the fifth note of the scale is that E. So I'm going to start with the E down here. E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D, and E. And essentially by writing out the scale 3 times, starting on the first note of the scale, the third note of the scale, and the fifth note of the scale, I have now created each and every one of the chords that are involved in the key of A major. Let's listen to those chords. Well, first of all, the scale. We know the A major scale has the 3 sharps in it, so I'm just going to play that scale. A, be helpful if I had some volume. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. So if I start with that tonic triad, A, C sharp, E, that's the 1 chord. If I move it up to the second note of the scale, B, D, F sharp, that's the supertonic, the 2 chord in the scale. The third note of the scale, C sharp, E, G sharp, is a minor quality, the mediant triad. The fourth note of the scale, D, F sharp, A, that's the subdominant, the 4 chord. The dominant is the 5th note of the scale, E, G sharp, B, the 5 chord, the dominant chord. The 6th chord is the F sharp, A, C sharp, the submediant, the 6th chord. The leading tone is G sharp, B, D. It's the 7 chord. And notice I have a little degree sign next to that. We'll explain that in a minute. And then we have the A, C sharp, E. So the tonic triad again. So we've gone through only using the notes that are in the key of A major, and those have the 3 sharps, C sharp, F sharp, and G sharp. There's nothing else that's on here. But this is what's really interesting. What we've done is we've also shown that in a major key, the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord are all major quality. The other chords, the 2 chord is minor, the 3 chord is also minor, the 6 chord is also minor, so we've got F sharp, A, C sharp, but then we've got this G sharp, B, D, which is a diminished quality, and that's indicated by that little circle there. So the 7 chord in a major scale, in a major key, is always going to be diminished. Now, we're not varying it in any way. We're not adding any unnecessary sharps or flats or naturals. We are keeping with the exact 7 notes in the A major scale, and just by starting them at different points, we have the root of the chord, the third of the chord, and the fifth of the chord. Now, if we play them like that, root, third, fifth, they're always in root position. But what if I take that A chord and I make the lowest note a C sharp instead? C sharp, E, A. I still have those same three letters, but I've rearranged them. That's an inversion. It's the first inversion. So when a chord, it's based on the third note of the scale with the lowest sounding voice, A sharp, C sharp, and then E, and then A. The lowest sounding note is the third of the chord. That's first inversion. So if we start with the root at the bottom, it's root position. If we start with the third as the lowest note, it's first inversion. If we start with the fifth as the lowest note, it's second inversion. So let's take a look at that. Let's take the 4 chord, for example. If we have D, F sharp, A, but we put the A as the bottom note, that's the 4 chord that's in second inversion. Makes it really easy to lay out all your chords and identify them if you build a chord chart like this. Hope that helps.